Welcome to our Symphony of the Seas cruise. We started out our little adventure in Austin, Texas and flew directly to Miami, Florida, the site of one of Royal Caribbean's main terminals. Given the unreliability of airlines these days, we decided to spend the night in South Beach right in Miami the day before the cruise. That was a great call on our part because we got to enjoy the beautiful South Beach in Miami. The next morning we got up early and went to the Royal Caribbean Cruise Terminal. At the time we took this cruise, there was still a lot of the COVID requirements in place, so it took a little bit longer to check in than it does currently. We took this journey with a group of several of our neighbors, some of which are pictured here. The size of this Oasis class ship is just truly remarkable. It's just amazing how big this ship is. This trip was a 7-day Eastern Caribbean trip. It included our less than perfect day at CocoCay, which you'll see why as you watch the video. The trip also included stops in St. Thomas and St. Maarten. We'll show you a few of the excursions we went on while in both of those ports. But our first stop will be our stateroom. This was a standard balcony cabin on the Symphony of the Seas. This was only the second cruise we've ever been on. But after having a balcony cabin the first time, there was no way we were going to go without one again. This should give you a little indication as to why. The views from this port are really unbelievable. As we turn to the right, notice this little gangplank that hangs over the side of the ship. Well, that's where we're off to next. Once again, some stunning views, and you can even see the ocean below your feet. While this video is not an exhaustive list of every single thing you can do on this ship, we try to come up with some of the top things that you're going to want to visit while on the ship. Our first stop is Central Park, which is right in the middle of the ship. This is a beautiful area with some bars and restaurants located right off of the park, and some beautiful little coves and grottos just to sit down and relax. But like a lot of locations on the ship, they look really beautiful at night as well. Another area that looks more beautiful at night than during the day is the Boardwalk. This area caters to kids and adults alike. There's a beautiful carousel for all the kids to ride on, as well as a few other activities for the kids, as you can see on the right-hand side. Right off the boardwalk is the climbing wall. In this section of the video, we're going to talk about shipboard activities. If you're adventurous like my daughter here, or you just want to have some fun, there's plenty of things for everybody to do. If you like surfing and waiting in lines, the Flow Rider might be the thing for you. Or you can try the Ultimate Abyss, which is a dry slide, which is one of the tallest slides at sea. My daughter's favorite was the zip line. She did this about 3 or 4 times. I don't know if you'd classify this next thing as an activity, but it's certainly something my daughter enjoyed doing. It is the piano stairs. On the same deck as the running track, you can find ping pong, along with some amazing views, as well as some shuffleboard. I'm pretty sure this is probably the best view you could ever have on a running track. Probably one of the favorite pastimes on a ship is all of the liquid refreshments available to you. Here, robotic bartenders will come up with all sorts of pre-made drinks, and you can even come up with your own. This is called the Bionic Bar. On one of the lower levels, you'll find the Attic Comedy Club and Lounge. Here you can catch some great comedy acts, as well as dance and enjoy some drinks at the bar. One of my favorite bars was called the Rising Tide Bar, which is located in the Promenade. This bar goes up and down 3 levels, so jump on in, but you can't get off until it gets to its destination. Another popular bar located on the Boardwalk is Playmaker's Sports Bar and Arcade. This is a great place for kids and adults alike. And probably one of the best places for sports fans. While the next location isn't as much of a bar as it is a specialty restaurant, we hit their bar twice because it was so good. This was Wonderland, kind of a homage to Alice in Wonderland. As you can see here, this is a smoky old-fashioned. And this is one of the reasons I came back to this bar at least on 2 different occasions. Wonderland is the only specialty restaurant we actually ate at. It was worth the price given the view and also the unique style of food preparation. They had a very unique way to present the menu. You actually had to paint it with water in order to even see the menu items. My daughter especially loved that. The view of the boardwalk at night was really amazing. In addition to the fabulous meals was the unique desserts that were available. Next, we're going to cover the array of onboard entertainment options aboard this ship. Our first stop is the Jazz on 4 Lounge. Here you can sit back, relax, and enjoy some amazing jazz musicians. Next up is the Royal Theatre. Here is where you're going to see an array of performances across the spectrum. You will see comedy acts, game shows with the cruise director and guests. You'll also see Broadway caliber shows and performances like this. This was Flight, Dare to Dream. There is also a mobile piano player, and he can pop up anywhere on the ship, including the elevator. One of the best shows is found in the Aqua Theater at the rear of the ship. This particular show was called Hero. This reminded me a lot of the Cirque du Soleil show in Vegas, O. Another amazing show to watch is the Ice Show. This particular show was called 1977. The opening of the show featured some amazing drones that were flying all over the place. Not sure this is every night, but some nights, after the performances on ice, the ice rink will become a dance club. Next, we're going to cover our port destinations. First stop is the perfect day at CocoCay. But in our case, I would say it's the less than perfect day at CocoCay. It started out as a beautiful day. I mean, look at this large island, lots to do, and just really an amazing place. We purchased the Thrill Water Park Pass, which gave us access to all of the water slides as well as the wave pool. The tall water slide in the middle is called Daredevil's Peak. It is the tallest water slide in North America, and the first thing we did when we arrived on the island. Our stop at CocoCay was really the first time we got to view the full magnificence and the size of the ship. We hopped on one of the golf carts that was driving people over to the water park. Definitely recommend it, as it's a long way down the dock to get to CocoCay. Once you arrive at the entrance, you can go to the right to the Thrill Water Park, which requires a separate ticket in order to enter. Almost everything to the left, though, is free to access. In hindsight, my family probably would have been fine just doing all the free stuff as far as the beaches and pools, because my daughter is not really that big of a water slider. This is one of the pools in the free areas with a swim-up bar, which was absolutely beautiful. Now, I wish I could have shown you more of CocoCay, but this gets to the point of why it was a less than perfect day at CocoCay. We faced a torrential downpour and tropical storm. So much so that Royal Caribbean ended the day early and actually refunded everybody's Thrill Water Park passes. I do appreciate the fact that Royal Caribbean did refund us our passes, as, you know, the weather is not their fault. Luckily though, that was not our only stop, and we had great weather throughout the rest of the cruise for the most part. Charlotte, Amalie was our second stop. As we were awaiting the port pilot to board our ship, we saw this plane landing on this runway. It was just amazing the precision that you have to have in order to land on this runway. And here comes the port pilot. Every port has its own port pilot that comes to the ship to help the ship's captain dock the boats. I would say that this port was our smallest port, as it had the least amount of shops and restaurants. As we were docking, you could see the amount of sand that was kind of churned up in the bay from the ship. The color of the water is just amazing. So when you dock at a port, there's numerous options for excursions. We didn't choose ours through Royal Caribbean, but through a private service. We hopped aboard a taxi that we found right at the port. We booked a private 50-foot catamaran. We booked it directly through Seize the Day Charters. It was an amazing experience. It took us to 2 different snorkeling locations, one of which included a private beach. It really is such a beautiful area. The catamaran trip pretty much took all the time we had to explore the island. Came with a captain and first mate who did a fantastic job. Just look at that clear water. It's one thing to look at the water from above. Well, let's see how it looks from down below. I expected to see a few more fish, but it was still nice. And then I discovered that most of the fish were eating the algae off the bottom of the boat. It was truly an amazing day, and we had a blast. And now it's time to head back to the ship, to the port, so we can board for our next adventure. Of course, we had to get our customary photo in front of the U.S. Virgin Islands sign. The size of this ship never ceases to amaze me. It's pretty unbelievable that something this big can take you around on the sea. The next morning, we woke up in Philipsburg, St. Maarten. This is what I would say was our largest port, at least in the area of restaurants and bars and shops. They had a bar right in the middle of the port called Sharky's. We didn't waste too much time at the port as we wanted to get going on our tour. My wife, my daughter, and I reserved a private tour. That way we got to pick the destinations instead of some pre-arranged list of places to go. What we didn't realize is that just the three of us were going to be on this large bus. We had a fantastic tour guide, and one of our first stops was my daughter's favorite place, which was Parrotville. You may think that I misspelled parrot, but actually I think that's the guy's last name that owns it. Parrotville will provide you with food for all the birds, and that's what gets them to flock to you. It was truly an incredible experience to get so up close and personal with these beautiful birds.
Hey, don't fight.
Just as we were leaving, the school bus dropped off a group of local kids, so we timed it just right. We made a quick photo stop in Oyster Bay, and you can still see the effects from Hurricane Irma in 2017. So not only was our driver great, but he had a nice selection of cold drinks available for us as well. One of the stops recommended by our driver was the Moses Walk, which is near Rotary Lookout Point. They call it the Moses Walk because during low tide it allows you to walk out to this island, just as if Moses separated the seas for you to walk across. Once on the island and in the distance, you can see the island of St. Barth's. The rock on the island was pretty sharp, so be careful with your feet. But once there, there's some incredible views. Here you can still see some evidence from Hurricane Irma in 2017 with a capsized boat, as well as some ripped off roofs. You might even get to see some sea life like we did with the sea urchin. Here is the Rotary Point Lookout. My daughter's second favorite stop was this roadside attraction where you get to feed the iguanas. There's a gentleman there that owns a little t-shirt shop and souvenir shop, and he actually gives you the lettuce to feed these things for free. As a thanks for letting us feed the iguanas, we did buy something from his little shop. It truly was a very unique experience. Our next stop was Orient Beach at Orient Bay. It's one of the most famous beaches in all of St. Maarten. You don't realize how blue this water is until you actually get in it. Our tour bus driver took us to the French Quarter where we had a great lunch. We also saw some spectacular views as he drove us along the coastline, as you'll see soon. One of the big highlights for me was Maho Beach. The water is calm like bath water, but the beach is really just a narrow sliver of sand. But it's not really the water or the sand that drives tourists here. is that this beach lies directly next to an airport runway. Planes are so close that you could almost touch the tires as they're coming in for a landing. Don't get me wrong, the water here is beautiful as well, but the main attraction here are the planes. The small planes landing are nice, but it's the big ones that really put on a show. So now that we checked Maho Beach off the bucket list, it's time to head back to the port. You can see the Symphony of the Seas off in the distance. Our tour guide dropped us off in Philipsburg, so we had enough time for some souvenir shopping. Now, I am a huge Star Wars fan, so there was one place I had to go, which was the Yoda Guy movie exhibit. After that stop, it was time to board the ship and head home. But our adventure doesn't end there. Our daughter caught COVID. So we went from a balcony room to a quarantine cabin. We thought it would be one night, but it turned out to be two. They shut down the port of Miami, and we had to stay at sea an entire day and another night. And because my daughter was in quarantine, we couldn't leave the room. So the quarantine deck is on deck 3, so you were about as close to the water and the storm as you possibly can get, as deck 3 is the lowest cabin level that they offer. So while this was our only view to the outside, the rest of the ship was enjoying the entertainment and all of the activities aboard. So despite the quarantine at the end, the closure of CocoCay, we really enjoyed the trip and we had a great time overall. We created some memories that will last a lifetime. We had a great time with our friends and neighbors. And now that most of the cruise lines have relaxed COVID restrictions, we'll probably go on another Royal Caribbean cruise sometime soon. So if you enjoyed the video, please click on the like button and also subscribe to our channel to see more travel content from all around the world. Bon voyage, and we wish you the best of luck in your travels.